It is a public service to report on some of the good works that are improving our world, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't question and scrutinize the credibility of every solution put forth. I'm here to talk about some of the challenges of reporting solutions. So recently, I was one of 10 students with UBC's International Reporting Program that spent a year investigating global illegal logging. We traveled to Cameroon, Indonesia, and the Russian Far East, investigating the illegal harvest and laundering of timber from forest floors to big box stores. So here's a little example of what we found.
The last forests of the world are secretly being cut down and, slipped into the products that we ourselves are buying.
Western consumers may not know it, but unfortunately we're financing a forest mafia.
Illegal timber brings money in a form of bribes to local policemen, criminals.
Should I film this?
I don't. This is a Chinese-operated sawmill. We've got to go.
It's very easy to get a document which is stamped and signed by some official which states everything we're doing here is legal.
This is my country, and this is my forest.
The forest exploiters came and cut the Moabi tree.
I shot up their cars and I punched them in the face. I haven't killed anyone yet, but if they continue to cut down my trees, I might have to.
The biggest manufacturing companies in the world benefit from stealing wood. Stolen wood is cheaper.
That paints a pretty bleak picture of our global timber trade. Now, as journalists, often our reporting would stop there. We've illuminated a problem and we've put it out there for audiences to do with it what they will. But that's hopelessly unsatisfying. Our forests are in crisis, and the question is, what can be done about it? So the search for solutions led me, my co-producer Kim Nursel, and our instructor David Rummel nearly 13,000 kilometers across the Atlantic and deep into the heart of the Congo Basin, where an American company is taking on illegal logging. Taylor Guitars is one of the world's largest and most popular guitar manufacturers. It produces about 500 guitars every day, almost all of which have African ebony. African ebony is a rare, dense hardwood that only grows in a few places on Earth. Most countries, because it's so rare, forbid it from being cut down, except Cameroon. So when Bob Taylor, the co-founder and owner of Taylor Guitars, started looking into where he gets his ebony from, he didn't like what he found. And as our project explains, he decided to do something about it.
Taylor wants to make sure his company has access to legal wood, so he bought into an ebony mill in Cameroon, West Central Africa.
The only way to supply ourselves and our colleagues in the industry with ebony that we felt would be truly legal would be to buy the company and make it legal.
Since Taylor got involved, wages have doubled, safety has become a priority, and the mill's employees are provided with daily hot lunches.
This work has given me everything. I had children thanks to this work. I can feed my family thanks to this work. I'd like to retire thanks to this work.
I can feed my family thanks to this work. That is a pretty glowing advertisement for Taylor Guitars. Which brings me to the first challenge of solutions reporting. How do you draw the line between advocacy and journalism? When you spend so much time reporting on an individual group or organization that is trying, in spite of so many obstacles, to do the right thing, it can be very difficult not to produce a piece of free advertising. And the first few rough cuts that we did certainly fell in this category. But fortunately for us, we had the luxury of time and distance. And as we wrote and rewrote our scripts and edited our footage, serious questions about the viability of Taylor's solution began to arise. So take this ebony tree, for example. We had to drive 3 hours on Cameroon's so-called highway of death 2 hours on bumpy dirt roads and over rickety homemade bridges, and then hike 6 kilometers into the Cameroonian jungle in order to find a single ebony tree, which happens to be about a century old. Now, because Taylor Guitars purchased a mill and is cutting the wood itself in compliance with Cameroonian law, it has found a way to guarantee itself legal ebony. But if ebony is so rare, is this really a sustainable and viable long-term solution? So I traveled to Taylor Guitars headquarters in El Cajon, California, and put that question to Bob Taylor himself. Here's the result.
If you have ebony that's on the threatened species list, you're talking about a species in the world, not necessarily the condition of a species in a country. And Cameroon has permits to take out very little wood. And that country, in my opinion, can probably supply that forever.
No one knows how much ebony exists in Cameroon, not even the government. And ebony harvesting is wasteful. Loggers told Taylor they have to cut 10 ebony trees to find one with the solid black core prized by instrument makers.
That, our reporting transformed from advocacy to journalism. So how do you report solutions without producing a piece of free advertising? By following one of the golden rules of journalism. Always be skeptical. It is a public service to report on some of the good works that are improving our world, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't question and scrutinize the credibility of every solution put forth. Which brings me to the second challenge of doing solutions journalism. How do you figure out what constitutes a solution and which solutions should be covered? Illegal logging is defined by each individual country's forest laws, and the drivers of illegal logging can vary greatly. Bad governance, a lack of enforcement resources, poverty. So if we can't pinpoint the problem, how on earth are we supposed to figure out what the solutions are? Our class addressed this by focusing on solutions that would be most relevant to our target audience, Western consumers. US law defines illegal logging as the import of any plant or plant product that was taken, possessed, or sold in violation of another country's forest laws. So we started looking for individuals, groups, and organizations that are devising ways to guarantee the legality of timber supply chains. So there's one company in Great Britain, for example, that is working with local communities like those in Cameroon to tag individual standing trees with barcodes, scan those barcodes into a database, and then track that tree as it moves from the forest to the factory. That way, the end user knows exactly where their wood came from and how it got there. There's another company based out of Singapore that is extracting the DNA of trees at its point of origin, randomly testing DNA as it moves through the supply chain, and then repeating this once it reaches the end user. If at any time during that process the DNA samples don't match, the end user knows they've got a problem in their supply chain and they can investigate. There are lots of other solutions as well, including Taylor Guitars' very direct solution of buying a mill and cutting the wood themselves. So how did we decide to focus on Taylor Guitars while excluding the others? Ultimately, in journalism, sometimes we have to make very tough editorial decisions based on logistics and resources. There is no way we could have covered every single solution that's out there for illegal logging, nor even the ones I mentioned. So we had to make a choice. Taylor Guitars granted us full access to its operations in Cameroon and in California. They were available when we needed them to be, and quite honestly, they've got a populist appeal. It's got that rock and roll celebrity factor. So we featured Taylor Guitars on the front of our solutions page and didn't report the others, which may have been equally as good, if not better, solutions. Now, some people might take issue with this. I myself grappled with it a little bit. After all, by deeming Taylor Guitars' solution worthy of reporting and the others unworthy, is that not in and of itself an act of advocacy? But ultimately, I stand by our decision to include even one solution on our website because it pushes the conversation forward. from fractures to fixes, and it communicates to our audience that progress is possible. And isn't that the point of solutions journalism? To give our audience and our fellow citizens the tools they need to make more informed decisions, whether at the ballot box or the big box store. Thank you.